Hello, Oikos families. Welcome to episode 2 of the Oikos Family Podcast. Today's topic is all about peace in the home. Isn't that a lovely topic? But on the flip side of peace in the home is strife in the home. Not really a topic we want to talk about too much. We would rather focus on the peace in the home. But today I want to share with you a few things about strife in the home, because obviously if we get the strife out, the peace can come. So I want to start with letting you know that, first of all, I was raised in a family of all boys. I had 3 blood brothers amongst some other foster brothers. So there were a lot of boys, and myself being the only daughter. And I'm very grateful that in our home, our parents had certain principles. And the one was that you may not bully your sister, was one of the principles. So I was never allowed to be pushed or shoved or treated in any way unkindly or roughly. And that was fantastic, because now I grew up in a household where there was all these boys, and I could have been, fairly badly treated, I suppose you could say, if it were allowed. But the principle in my upbringing from my parents was that was not allowed. It just simply was not allowed. That's all there is to it. So I carried that through to my own family. So when we were home educating and raising our own children, it was just already in me that this was a principle to have peace in the home, and that strife wasn't welcome. And so there were things that one had to practice to keep peace in the home. In other words, when strife did just rear its ugly head, we had to attend to it quickly, because it robbed the peace in the home. I'm thinking now of a little poem that we used to practice and say, and it went like this. I'm going to see if I can remember. "O thy hideous monstrous sin, what a curse thou hast brought in. All creation groans, 'cause the growing cause of misery." I didn't say that completely right, but you get the message. So you get the meaning, should I say. So now, when somebody in our household, when there's something started causing a little bit of strife and it started to rear its ugly head, one of us would just go, "Oh, thy hideous monster." And straight away we would know that, oops, strife has stepped in, let's pluck it out quickly. But as I said, I did actually have the advantage, the blessing, the benefit of being raised in a home where strife wasn't permitted. So now, can you see what happened? Because my parents were so intentional about that, I could now be intentional myself about it, because it was just automatic that strife wasn't allowed. And so I'm encouraging you, parents, families listening today, to be intentional about the same thing. Even if when you were raised, maybe you were bullied, maybe you weren't, maybe that principle wasn't in the home that you were raised in. But that doesn't mean it can't be in the home that you're raising your children in. You can start a family principle that says we have peace in our home. And you can put posters up, and you can get the children to make posters about peace and no strife. And you can read the word about where it's a lot of this in Proverbs, where Proverbs shares with us and teaches us about the opposite, the 2 different paths you can take, the one of peace or the one of strife, and gives you the consequences of either. So you can do some word study. You can really expand that word study as well by getting the children to write out scriptures to put on the walls, to perhaps make, lovely pictures, posters, as I mentioned just now, and just post them up around your house. I mean, the Word of God says, put the scriptures up on your walls and paste them up everywhere. So do it. Because now the next time that strife raises its head, you can either go, "Oh, thy hideous monster sin," or you could reference to one of the scriptures that are on the wall. And I would actually like to go as far as saying, why not stop everything else and just focus on bringing peace into your home? If that means going to, you might know and you might not know that we are lived all the way through our home education journey with Konos. So we have lived Konos, and we have done all the units and the activities in them. And so we would have, the moment we had something specific that we needed to focus on, we would dive into that with Konos. And in this instance, it would be joy and cheerfulness, or love and generosity, or joy and cheerfulness, one of those units that specifically focused on bringing the right atmosphere into our home if we were finding that there wasn't the kind of atmosphere that encouraged peace and the presence of the Lord. And the other thing I wanted to share with you is, now you've heard that when I was growing up, I had three brothers and foster brothers, and they weren't allowed to be rough with me. They had to be kind. That was a principle in our home. And now in our own family, it was the same thing with raising our own children. But then we had the added consideration of chronic illness. So what happened is, because we had chronic illness a lot of the time, it really encouraged this kindness, if that makes sense. Because, you see, if a person is sick, you're not ugly to them, you're not unkind to them. Well, one hopes you're not. But generally, people are considerate and compassionate of others if they're not well. If you see somebody hurting, you're not going to go and hurt them, for example. So we had that in our home a lot. We had a lot of suffering. And so that really, really helped us grow the kindness and the compassion, because our circumstances were what they are. So why I'm telling you that part is just to say to you that because of that, it helped us to have to focus on being kind and building those characteristics. And so what I did is I had to call on the Lord, and Lord, please help me with how to encourage and what activities to do and what things we could do to practice this kindness. And there again, I could go back to Konos, and Konos would help me with ideas that I was always amazed and always grateful. I would think, oh my goodness, thank goodness for Konos, because I wouldn't have come up with all those ideas. And so those ideas that I found in Konos, we would actually put into practice. And so we would then begin practicing kindness, and which meant we were intentional about bringing peace into our home. That's what was happening. We were focusing on that. And what would be the result? What would be the fruit of that? We would start to notice that there was less strife, and that there was this kindness and this love happening in our home, and there was peace. And that was fantastic. I mean, if somebody came to visit, or if just, let's not even talk about people coming to visit, just you and your children in your home having a normal home education day, and there's peace in your home because you started with that. Let's say you started your day with a Bible study. You started your day with reminding one another about supporting each other in kindness, and being very sensitive and aware of the strife that might just suddenly rise up. It can happen at any moment. Somebody could bump somebody else accidentally, and then the person who was bumped may take offense to that, and, oh, mommy, he pushed me, or whatever it might be. And now you're dealing with strife. You're dealing with a tension, a moment that has removed the peace from your home in that instance. So I am here today to encourage you to take note of that moment of being robbed of your peace, and be very intentional. Do something about it immediately, whatever that something is, whether it is play a game, whether it is refer to some fun poems that you've decided to memorize to help these moments of strife, so that your objective becomes, right, we need peace back here. We need peace back in this home so that we can continue with the day. Don't let it just roll into the next strife moment and the next and the next. But at the end of the day, everybody's exhausted. It's been a stressful day. It's been a tiring day. You don't want that. You don't want to have a bad end to your day when it could have actually ended in a calm and peaceful and strengthening day. Because remember, the word says that his joy is our strength. So if you want to keep strong, you need to keep joy in place. So I really, really hope that this podcast has helped you to really be intentional about removing the stress and the strife from your home, and focusing on the peace and doing something about it to bring peace into your home. And have a beautiful, peaceful day, families, today and every day, until I speak to you again on our next Oikos Family Podcast. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.